Got some rough weather now coming up towards the Twin Cities, and in fact we had a report of a 67-mile-an-hour wind gust in North Mankato as this area of storms came through. You see that C shape right in there, that curvature, that is what is called a bow echo. That is where the wind is going to be found. That's now coming towards the south side of Scott County, moving up towards New Prague, and then eventually towards Farmington and Lakeville and towards Apple Valley as well. All of these areas could see some wind, so we're talking about the southern suburbs of Minneapolis here getting in on potentially some wind in the next few minutes as this cell moves northeast at about 40 miles an hour. Severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for Scott County. And we'll have more on this with our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, coming up at the bottom of the hour. It's time now to tell you about what's going to happen for the next several days, and we've got a beautiful day on the way tomorrow for a lot of the East Coast. Nice and sunny, but not the kind of thing you want to see in the southeast where the rainfall deficits are just staggering. There will be some rain coming in later in the week. That wet weather that's now in the upper Midwest, moving towards the lakes, towards Chicago and Grand Rapids, Indianapolis, and into St. Louis and Joplin and Springfield here on Tuesday, and also down into the lower Mississippi Valley as well. And it's going to get a lot cooler across the upper Midwest. Upper 50s tomorrow in the Twin Cities, so a real taste of fall on the way as that front comes on through. Notice that it's still real quiet in the west, not a lot of change there. Here's our front dropping into the interior of the Northeast on Wednesday. Scattered storms around Cleveland and Cincinnati and back down towards Paducah and down into Little Rock as well. And just starting to edge into those drought areas on Wednesday, really starts to come in on Thursday. And there is a lot of green on the map here, but do know that we're talking about scattered storms. Not everyone is going to get rain. I know that's not good news. The water restrictions have gotten very bad in a lot of the South. You can really get in a lot of trouble if you continue to water, if your restrictions have gotten worse. And hopefully we get some water out of the sky here Thursday and late Thursday into the Carolinas, and then that front is going to blast through, and that's going to be your last rain chance for a while. Going into the weekend, very quiet in a lot of the country. We will see some showers in the Northeast turning sharply cooler after a couple of very warm days, and then we'll find some wet weather returning to the upper Midwest, a new front moving in there, across the lakes on Sunday and going through Monday as well. Now let's talk about those temperatures, and I'll tell you, it's really going to be warm. Look at this, pockets of 90s. Here we are in fall, and we're still talking about 90s in the Lone Star State and up through the Ohio Valley into Columbus and Cincinnati, and then by the time Wednesday rolls around, gets a lot cooler in the lakes, still quite warm in the Mid-Atlantic region. So you've got a couple of days up near 90 there in D.C. Then it gets a lot cooler going into Thursday and Friday, first because of the clouds and the rain, then because the cool air comes in. Temperatures actually in the 50s here in western Pennsylvania on Friday. And it does get cooler across the southeast. The humidity comes down a little bit, but we still have 80s all over the place, so we're not really seeing a big punch of cool air anytime soon here across the southeast. Jen?
Well, a rain-triggered landslide caused a Los Angeles hillside to collapse over the weekend, trapping as many as 14 cars in the mud. But what are mudslides and how can they happen? Here's meteorologist Jeff Morrow with an explanation.
A sea of mud rushes down a steep hill, destroying everything in its path. Each year in the U.S., landslides and mudslides cause nearly $2 billion worth of damage and kill 25 to 50 people. But why do they occur and why so deadly? Mudslides, also called debris flows, are a type of fast-moving landslide. These flows generally occur during periods of intense rain or rapid snowmelt. Mudslides usually start on hillsides and pick up speed and debris as they move down. They continue to flow down the hill, carrying everything in its path, including boulders, trees, and cars. The less vegetation, the more the mud flows. This lack of vegetation can be attributed to man clearing the land or forest fires scorching the earth. When the flow comes to a halt, it spreads out, leaving thick deposits over a large area. For the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Jeff Morrow.
Violent storms tear across central and southern England, leaving a trail of chaos and destruction behind. A tornado tore through the town of Nuneaton, ripping roofs off houses and uprooting trees. Wind gusts of 65 miles an hour were reported. I'm sure they were higher than that in some areas, and some 50 homes in the village were damaged. So far, there have been no reports of injuries. Meantime, heavy rain caused severe flooding in southern Spain over the weekend. Streets turning into rivers and several subway stations filled with water. One man died after being trapped in his garage by rising water. Local officials say flash flooding caused an estimated $8 million in damages. Well, we are keeping an eye on several systems churning in the tropics.
And coming up at 50 past the hour, our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons, will have more on any chance of Karen starting to form. First up, though, here's our weather warrior picture of the day.